be one, as now we join in singing our hymn of love, to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
Welcome, friends, gathered in the sanctuary on Zoom and later on our YouTube channel. It is so good to be together. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Franklin, to the Smoky Mountains of Western North Carolina and Northeast Georgia, and the ancestral home of the Cherokee people. We're a lay-led congregation of progressive minds and caring connections for over 53 years. My name is Mary Teslow, and I'm delighted to be your service leader this morning. We extend a warm welcome to those who may be visiting with us today for the first time or returning after a while. We're so glad you're with us and look forward to getting to know you better. There'll be an opportunity to introduce yourself later in the service, and you can sign up for our newsletter in the guest book in the foyer or by adding your information in the chat on Zoom. As we gather each Sunday, we take a moment to greet each other on Zoom and here in the sanctuary, affectionately the Zoomies and the Roomies. Roomies, please rise in body or spirit for our wave hello and stay standing for our gathering song, hymn number 123 in the gay hymnal. So yeah, great, you've got this down. Turn and wave to our Zoomie people. Yay. Hooray. And now Miss Jude.
We've got a short version of Spirit of Life today, so just sign language in English. At least I think. We'll see what happens. This is how you get around when she tells you don't clap to the end. You just go.
There we go. This simple act of connection reminds us that despite our distance, we're all part of one loving community. Our fellowship is a light for liberal religion in the mountains that values diversity and the richness it brings to our community. Our celebration of diversity is reflected in the variety of our Sunday services. In addition to different topics, our service sequence and length sometimes vary. This morning, we begin our renewed religious education program, which includes a story for all ages and learning the song to sing our children out. Today, as we celebrate the United Nations World Press Freedom Day, we welcome back Reverend Marti Keller with a sermon titled, Free Press, Free People. We hope today's service enriches your journey of discovery. Our story for all ages this morning is about Nellie Bly. About 140 years ago, as a young woman of 19, Nellie became a reporter who became the most famous woman on earth. Now our story.
Close your eyes and imagine leaving your home and traveling all the way around the world. You would cross oceans, meet new people, try new foods, see new places. It would be an exciting journey, even dangerous at times, but it would change the way you see everything. Today we are going to learn about a woman who did just that and finished the journey faster than anyone else in the world. This is a story of daring and adventure. This is the story of the fearless Nellie Bly. When Nellie Bly was little, she lived in a time when kids didn't go to school most of the day. Instead, they worked long days. Nellie had a big family with 15 brothers and sisters who all worked in their father's mill. A mill is a place where wheat is ground into flour to make bread. Here she learned to work hard and have determination. Determination is trying and not giving up until you finish something. Nellie loved to wear the color pink. One day her friend said, "You wear so much pink, we're going to call you Pinky." From then on, she had the name Pinky. Nellie also loved to write. She practiced writing so often she became very good at it. When she got a little older, she became a journalist. A journalist is someone who writes for the newspaper. One day, Nellie was reading a book called Around the World in 80 Days about a man who traveled around the world. Even though the book wasn't a true story, Nellie wanted to do it herself, and she believed she could. Other people told her it would be too dangerous, or that because she was a girl she couldn't do it. They told her she needed someone strong to protect her. But Nellie was independent and brave and believed she could do it on her own. So Nellie packed her clothes and other things into a bag and went to the dock where the ship was waiting. Everyone cheered and waved goodbye as the ship set sail. While at sea, Nellie became very seasick.
Oh, I feel horrible.
Seasick is when someone not used to the ocean gets very sick from the boat rocking in the water. But even though it was hard, she kept going. She was determined to finish the journey. Next, the ship landed in England, and from there she went to France and finally to Asia. Sometimes she traveled by boat, sometimes by train. She tasted new foods, went alligator hunting, bought a monkey, and rode ponies across Hong Kong. Newspapers all over the world were keeping track of Nellie Bly. All of the world was watching to see how fast she would finish her trip. When she returned to America, while traveling across the country, people waved to her along the way, gave her flowers and fruit, and shook her hand. Girls and boys saw what Nellie was doing and realized they could do difficult things too. By the time she got home, she had traveled 25,000 miles in 72 days. It was a very long trip, and she was tired and glad to be home. Because Nellie was brave and believed in herself, other women saw that they could do adventurous things too. She was an inspiration to all.
Like Nellie, you can learn to work and be determined, to keep trying, and not to give up even when something is hard. You can be curious. You can imagine new things and do them even when others doubt in you or no one else has done them before. It may take learning new things and lots of practice and courage, but you can do it if you keep trying.
Yay, Nellie. And now I'd like to invite Jude to come up and begin with our birthdays.
I understand we have some birthdays in the house.
We do.
So I put some noisemakers out. We want to sing happy birthday to Charisma and Harmony, right? Just Harmony. Okay. Harmony. Happy birthday. And we're going to sing to you. So everybody's ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Harmony. Happy birthday to you. Way to embarrass the young adult, right? And I didn't get to do it last week because we ran so short on time. Yes. August birthday. August, when's your birthday? May 8th, we need to sing to you too. Happy birthday, August. Yay! Happy birthday to you. Many more. And so now, I didn't get to teach you last week because we ran short on time, so I picked a short spirit of life. Because years ago, when we had several children, the song we used to sing the children out was called Go Now in Peace. So we're going to sing that again. Some of you may remember it from years past, and others will need to learn it. So I guess the best thing to do is I'm going to sing it, and if you know it, join in, and if you don't, listen, and then we'll sing it 2 or 3 times for our young people to go to their brand new youth program. I don't have the words right. It's okay. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Pretty simple, right? Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. So it looks like we picked it up pretty good. A lot of you remember it. So each week when the children are ready to go to the program, we'll sing that as they exit to go downstairs. And that's going to be our new tradition. So thank you.
Chalice lighting?
We're getting there.
Oh, after this. After this. Okay.
But, yeah.
Oh, no, that's
We tried to figure out ways to give the children enough time to have a quality program downstairs, so we moved a few things around. I know.
Yeah. We light this chalice for the power of the word, for those who write in the face of silence, who publish when it would be safer not to, who read and think and question and share. May this light remind us democracy does not breathe without a free press, and a press is only free when the people it serves are free to hear, to doubt, to speak, and to act. Our opening words are about Ida B. Wells. Nellie Bly and Ida B. Wells were contemporaries in the late 19th century. Ida was a pioneering African-American investigative journalist, an educator, and early leader in the civil rights movement. Born into slavery, she went on to co-own the Memphis Free Speech newspaper, where her fearless reporting challenged false narratives used to justify racial violence in the American South. She had the courage to publish truths that powerful interests wanted suppressed and to demand justice and accountability. Wells embodied the core principles of investigative reporting, rigorous documentation, primary sources, and sharp editorial writing. She was awarded the Pulitzer Prize posthumously in 2020. One of her most favorite lines captures both her method and her moral clarity. The way to right wrongs is to turn the light of truth upon them. Our opening song is We Shall Be Known.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now, it is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
We're delighted to welcome back Reverend Marti Keller. Reverend Marti has been a parish community and justice minister for more than 25 years. Prior to becoming an ordained UU minister, she was an activist and legislative advocate for more than 20 years in the arenas of women's rights, maternal and child health, adolescent pregnancy, and economic equity. But there's more to her bio that's particularly relevant to today's service. Reverend Marti, like Nellie and Ida, began her reporting career early. While earning her undergraduate degree in journalism, her first press pass was issued in 1969 by the International Student Press Association for her work at the Daily Californian at UC Berkeley, covering student unrest in Europe. Reverend Marti spent the first 20 years of her professional life as a reporter and editor in print and cable television, as an arts critic, reporter, and columnist. Her education and training in communications and public witness were employed for a dozen years as Director of Public Affairs and Government Relations for Planned Parenthood in California, followed by other nonprofits. Reverend Keller is a member of PEN America, an international community of writers, editors, translators, and readers who are working to defend free expression, support persecuted writers, and promote literary culture. Please join me in welcoming back Reverend Marti Keller with her sermon, Free Press, Free People.
Thank you, Mary. And this is the very, very first time I've melded those two careers. I have never spoken about my journalistic career before. I don't know whether to thank you, Mary, or not thank you. And you'll hear my trepidation because it's such a huge story, freedom of the press, especially now. But we talked about it a while back, and then I've been thinking about it, and at one point I said, you know, I don't really have anything to say. But here I am, and I'm going to say some things. Every morning now, since since the re-election of Donald Trump as president, I have risen at a ludicrously early hour, often 3 o'clock in the morning, even more ludicrous than my previous senior pre-dawn waking, and I have scrolled Substack newsletters. How many of you are reading these? By writers that I have come to deeply admire, even envy, as a former journalist, though I believe it's impossible to ever completely be a former journalist, what with the whole world out there still to cover. Two of them, the ones I read early in the morning, are not actually journalists by training or vocation. There's Robert Reich, the former Secretary of Labor, who at nearly 80 years old churns out political cartoons and newsy commentaries every day of the week, sometimes twice a day, and appears on what he has coined his Saturday coffee clatch. And Heather Cox Richardson, an esteemed historian who has combined her academic background with erudite personal responses to the history that is making itself, and she's interpreting as it's happening. Do you agree? Yeah. An unprecedented history at that. And then my favorite, another Heather Delaney Reese, who is a travel writer who has spent the last year using her extraordinary observation skills, because that's what you have to have when you write about travel, to instead describe and expose the daily goings on, the journey with this presidency, which is a travelogue of a very different and powerful kind, a very rocky journey with lots of delays and missteps. I am drawn to her not only for her extraordinary detailed reportorial skills, accompanied always by scathing editorial perspectives, but because she has moved, at least for this unmistakably perilous now, from her previous perch, as I said, a travel writer, to the dangerous place her multiple posts have caused, like other reporters, other critics, threats to her and her family, and threats to the freedom of press in this country. As a cultural critic, arts reporter, and editor of some 20 years, only in the past few years less time than I have spent as a UU minister, We just tipped over a year or two ago. I still wonder if I could do what she and others are doing, what they are risking for reporting on what is happening during the duration. Well, I was asked by my dear friend, Mary, this morning to speak on what has been declared by the United Nations General Assembly, as she said, to be World Press Freedom Day. How many of you knew that this was to be celebrated? Some time back, and I admit to being extraordinarily challenged about what I might be able to say in this 20 or so minutes of pulpit time. What I have come to is this. These are the things I can do. I can give the background for this particular May observance, this holiday, a much less familiar one for sure than the others this month, which are Mother's Day and Memorial Day, and the particular context of freedom of the press in this country. I can do that. I can cover my own journalism story. I can cover my story, going back now nearly 60 years, some of it at least at times as fraught as 2026. I can do that. I can briefly describe the current attacks on the media and protests against this. I can do that. In light of these protests, in light of what is happening, I can briefly describe current attacks on the media and protests. I can place freedom of the press in the pantheon of our UU principles and describe what actions we have previously taken on its behalf as a UU association. Does that sound good? And if we have some time, I can spend a few minutes hopefully hearing what you as individuals and this Franklin congregation might do on the ground here in North Carolina. So I want to see the note-taking. I can do this. Can we do this? Full disclosure then, this is all that I can offer as freedom of the press has become its own huge daily news story, changing by the minute. So I begin. As I introduce my talk, today is a day created to raise awareness of the freedom of the press and to remind governments of their duty to respect and uphold the right to freedom of expression enshrined in Article 19 of the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Let's applaud the which I don't remember if we've ever signed. I'm not sure that the United States has ever signed that. The Declaration holds that everyone has the right to freedom of opinion and expression. This right includes freedom to hold opinions without interference and to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas throughout any media, regardless of frontiers. Sounds reasonable? World Free Press Day annually celebrates the fundamental principles of press freedom and then evaluates press freedom around the world, including, most terribly, the jailing of so many and the killing of some. It also, as I just said, pays tribute to journalists who have lost their lives in the exercise of their profession. So every year, Reporters Without Borders, not Doctors Without Borders, but Reporters Without Borders, establishes a subjective ranking of countries in terms of the freedom of press there, based on surveys that are sent to journalists, researchers, human rights activists, and other stakeholders, asking questions about direct attacks on journalists and the media and other indirect sources of pressure against the free press. And do we have that visual to show? It's got the map? Okay. So I want to tell you the colors. The colors are, if you're yellow, no, not sure, good. Green is good. Satisfactory is yellow. Problematic is kind of a light orange. The red one is difficult, and very serious is that kind of dark blue thing. Want to take a look at that? For today, for this year. Yeah, so we can see where we are right now. So it's what? Canada's doing pretty well. Looks like South Africa, Australia, and Scandinavia. After that, it goes downhill pretty quickly. Most recent rankings from 2025, which you're looking at, list the countries with the actual highest levels of press freedom. And you can imagine, shout out the one you think has the highest levels of press freedom. Sweden was the first country in the world to have a formal policy on freedom of the press in their constitution. Good. Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Estonia, Finland, Ireland, Portugal, and Costa Rica. The U.S. did not make the grade. The 10 countries with the lowest level of press freedom are, guess? No, actually not. North Korea, Eritrea, Iran, Turkmenistan, Myanmar, Vietnam, Cuba, Iraq, and Syria. So we're done with that slide. Thank you so much. Given the troubled, even adversarial relationship between the current administration and any and all initiatives and policies of the United Nations, which has long been central to our own UU human rights and foreign policy stances, we as a UU association have looked very carefully and deeply at what the UN does. It is tragically less applicable to our freedom of press protection than only those in the one that is held in our Constitution. In other words, we are ignoring anything else that's happening around the world. We're only looking to our own Constitution to see what happens in terms of freedom of the press. Founder Thomas Jefferson strongly advocated for a free press as a cornerstone of democracy, famously writing in 1787, before the amendments were added, that he would, quote, prefer newspapers without government to government without newspapers, believing that a free press was essential for keeping the government accountable. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU, the First Amendment, which was passed in 1791, quote, prohibits Congress from abridging the freedom of press, prohibiting the government from restricting news publications, exercising prior restraint, or retaliating against journalists. It acts as a watchdog essential to democracy, unquote. It states, the First Amendment, quite simply and quite starkly, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of press, speech, or of the press. I'm going to say it again. This is what it states very starkly and simply. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Let's hear it. It protects the rights of newspapers, journalists, digital media, and independent publishers to report on news without censorship. The government cannot generally use prior restraint preventing publication, and in addition to traditional media, it also applies to books and magazines and films and music and online materials. It is not absolute, this right, by the way. It is subject to libel and copyright laws and defamation and obscenity laws under some circumstances. And through the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause, the Supreme Court has ruled that this restriction on government applies to state governments as well. So there it is for you, clear as day. Don't you think clear as day, but too often ignored or challenged. So what is black and white and red all over? Those of us who are boomers and perhaps even older might well have heard this riddle and known the answer immediately. As for us, it was obviously the print newspaper that we all grew up with, delivered once or twice a day, depending on how many papers your family subscribed to, by bicycle kids like my husband, who rose and was out the door by 4 a.m. for years to land them in our driveways. 4 a.m. You know why he did it? He wanted to buy records, and that's what he paid for. It was a newspaper that my father spread out on the dining room table, pored over, quoted from, and argued with all the years of my childhood over his first cup of coffee. And after a while, if he had too many cups of coffee, it got really, really pretty bad. Despite the importance of print journalism to my formation as a critical thinker, as an aware person in the larger world, I was not on my way, as several of my good high school friends were, to work in this field starting in the 9th or 10th grade. I was not. They hung out in rooms full of manual typewriters, furiously writing the copy, and then they went to the print shop to publish the weekly issues, eager to go on to a college where they could continue this work on a larger level. Do you think that was me? I was a drama kid. I was an improvisational speech kid, one of those wearing black kids whose dreams included being a theater arts major. Until, can you tell, by the way? Until I landed at the University of California at Berkeley, then 30,000 undergraduates strong, and accompanied my bestie Janice to the 6th floor of Eshelman Hall, which was the home of the Daily Californian. Almost immediately, I sensed a change in vocational intention, a new home for my 18-year-old soul. And over the next 4 years was a calendar editor, learning what a colloquium was, by the way, a night editor, a Sunday editor, an arts editor, and the editor of the weekly magazine, all the while filing copy typed on half sheets of newsprint on the richness of what was going on culturally in the Bay Area, in California, in the late 1960s. And can you imagine what that was? Wow. I'm going to impress myself here, okay? Is that okay? Interviewing icons like Joan Baez and David Harris, interviewing Joni Mitchell and Graham Nash, and Jack Nicholson alone in his hotel room, watching political figures like Mario Savio, founder of the free speech movement, the massive free speech movement, black leaders like Huey Newton and Eldridge Cleaver and Angela Davis, who passed by me at my horseshoe desk on the way to the editor's office, where there was a lot of screaming that went on. I had the opportunity to cover some breaking news and background stories myself that were not about film noir or theater of the absurd. I sat on the senior editorial board where fierce arguments took place most afternoons about what stories would run and where they would run, what would need to wait or not to be run at all. I was therefore fully engaged in the mix of a heady time in the life of one of the oldest and largest readership college newspapers in the country, and it was a dangerous time as well, with a nearly constant number of campus protests, beginning with protesting ROTC on campus, Black Power, stopping the draft, and other anti-war protests covered by the paper and editorialized about, often involving major critiques by the newspaper of a university administration we saw as siding with the state and federal officials who sent National Guards to circle the entries of the campus, with more than occasional tear gas lobbing and the frequent use of bully clubs to drive away the crowds. Welcome to my world of going to college in the late 60s. On the afternoon of what has been called Bloody Thursday, the Daily Cal reported on a sit-in in a place called People's Park. How many of you remember that? Owned by the university, but claimed by residents and students as a community fruits and vegetable garden, a crowd of at least 2,000 people surged towards the park, leading to the killing of an unarmed bystander and the blinding of another. At the time, I was coming from a place of ferocious protection of my pages and my beat, and argued in this meeting that the decision to take over the Friday art sections for use of expanded coverage of this thing happening was short-sighted. We had witnessed, I said, so many uprisings in the nearly 4 years I had been a student on that newspaper, more importantly, a student journalist. But an interview with French filmmaker Jean-Luc Godard, which I had just done that day, was a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and it had to be published no matter what. Of course, I was stunningly wrong and overruled. All along, there were threats to withdraw financial support of the paper, to prohibit free distribution on the college grounds, and other means of pre-censorship and eminent university domain over the student paper that had been and would continue to be published since 1871. Another large-scale demonstration opposing the Cambodian invasion, coupled with the killing of another group of 4 unarmed students in a shooting at Kent State University in Ohio, led to the cancellation, the stopping of the 1970 class graduation ceremony. My class. Canceled along with commencements at Boston University, Jackson State University, and Grinnell College in Iowa. For the first and only time so far, for power and political reasons, not for medical reasons like during COVID, an entire class was canceled and silenced, but not the paper that covered it. Due to a car pedestrian accident, me being the pedestrian that caused me to delay graduating for a year, I was still around and employed as a reviewer and feature writer by the Daily Cal in May 1971, when on the occasion of the second anniversary of the People's Park riot, the senior editorial board on a split vote wrote an editorial calling for us to go to the party, to have a party at People's Park, commemorating the bloody clash between protesters and the police, urging people to return for this party, this time with wire cutters, to take back what had been fenced off by authorities. Some 40 people were arrested. Some people were injured. After the clash, retribution was swift, with the publishers board immediately firing the 3 staffers who voted for the editorial, and the remaining 2 resigning in solidarity, the so-called Daily Cal 5. These firings and resignations, along with investigations of conspiracy to commit misdemeanors, including destruction of university property, led incoming editors to finally break with the university, moving the 100-year-old newspaper to a cheap second-floor rental next to People's Park. At that point, the university, to no avail, wanted the paper to give up its name. You can go on, but you can't have the name Daily Californian. It didn't work for them, but did donate some old office furniture and bought a block of 10,000 subscriptions, providing the independent newspaper an initial base of income. In the end, the editors responsible for encouraging a renewed run on the park and the subsequent disconnection of the paper from its official relationship with the school felt the price of their editorial recklessness. Initially worried about criminal records, though no charges were ultimately filed, and their damaged journalism resumes. Yet, they all went on to auspicious careers on publications like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Rolling Stones, and Newsday, among others. And one of the real instigators actually was nominated for a Pulitzer Prize for national reporting. Yay. In 1990, 20 years after the abrupt shutdown of the 1970 commencement, when the invitation went out from the Alumni Association for us to return and be honored, it seemed especially ironic to me that a disproportionate number of the attendees were my Daily Cal colleagues, seeing a story that we could still cover, because we really never left that paper, the stories and times it represented for us. As an occasional contributor, I was allowed, even encouraged, to write a follow-up article for the California Monthly Alumni Magazine, preliminarily titled, "We Were Young and Gassed," in memory of those months and years of attacks, including on those of us whose reporting assignments meant being constantly caught in the fray. I had so much tear gas in my body. I was hit a few times just standing out in the plaza, and I was this little arts reporter. It was a very dangerous time to be a student journalist. Those of us who graduated from the UC Berkeley School of Journalism, who have watched it increasingly focus on championing a free press as a vital pillar of democracy, defending media freedom, advocating for independent media training in a diverse, I love this, unafraid next generation of journalists in various platforms, including audio, photojournalism, and documentary. We're so glad to see this finally happen. You have a journalism school on campus that seemed to be completely disconnected with the real violations of freedom of the press that were going on right on the campus, and addressing student rights to report without interference, particularly in institutional settings. Those of us who were student journalists who have gone on to other vocations, including quite a few of my UU clergy colleagues, were newspaper reporters. still watch what is happening with keen interest and, frankly, great fear for the next generation of supporters, both as individuals and as a body. I have watched so many of the reporters who don't have the privilege to retire or go on to another vocation see the closing of papers, shrinking down of the available jobs, corporate takeovers, and the takeover that is happening right now by, and this is the only time I'm going to mention it, my friend, AI. AI is taking over reporting as well. Therefore, I was gratified to read a petition signed by 250 journalists protesting the presence of the sitting president of this country at the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner, and urging these correspondents to, quote, forcefully demonstrate opposition to President Trump's efforts, in their words, quote, to trample freedom of the press, unquote. They detailed what they view as systematic, sustained, and unprecedented attacks, the retaliatory access bans, coercive regulatory investigations, frivolous lawsuits, the defunding of public broadcasting, physical restrictions on journalists, personal verbal attacks on reporters, arrest of journalists, and the pardoning of those who have committed violence against the press. They demanded that these White House correspondents issue from the podium a forceful defense of freedom of the press, followed by a standing toast to the First Amendment. Now, we all know that the dinner was cut short by shots in the hotel, and none of this happened. But these words are still, as they say, on the record for all to see, for all to see. Our own UU faith tradition is called to honor and guarantee freedom of the pulpit, which is an extension of our commitment to the free and independent search for truth and meaning. So my protection that was there as a reporter is still there as one of your ministers. Not that I don't care a lot about what you think and think about that. But except for a freedom of the press business amendment passed in 1974, exclusively applying to diversity and balance in our own UU World institutional organ, we have never had a study resolution dedicated to freedom of the press. I would suggest that it's long past time, and may it be so. Do we have a couple minutes, Mary, or are we run out of time?
You want some?
I might just shout out, pop.
We need a microphone if they're going to have questions.
Oh,
They can come to the walk-up.
If
Yeah.
there's a question.
it's not questions. I really just want, it can even be a shout out from the seats. I just want to say, what can we do? What can you do as an individual, or what can we do as a congregation? You hear from the start, because I don't want to just say, well, I'm just prompting you to do it, that congregations can go to General Assembly and get an action of immediate witness. There should have been an action of immediate witness this year around freedom of the press, and it's too late. But you can go forward and see if we can get a study resolution that takes longer, and see if we can study it and come up with some solid positions. So I would encourage the congregations that I'm talking to consider doing this. What else can you do or we do about freedom of the press in this moment?
We can subscribe to the left press, if we can afford it.
Yeah. They're all asking, they're all saying very nicely, you don't have to, but I have been subscribing like mad to these people because this is the only way they're making their money right now. Mm-hmm. What else? The Guardian. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The Guardian is don't have stakeholders, I believe. I think $15 per month. You guys can, me too. We can subscribe, and we can access to any article they propose.
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, where I know here in Franklin you've had what it sounds like a takeover and consolidation. I think you can just remind the newspaper that you're aware of that and that you expect them still to be a good local organ. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution has stopped doing print and only doing online. So we renewed our subscription to the daily New York Times. as a way of supporting the fact that I think papers is still good, and supporting that.
Let's see if we have anyone on Zoom who has something they'd like to share. Is there anyone? Yeah. Laura, please.
I just want to say that the people on Zoom need to be able to hear the questions better.
Thank you. I think they couldn't hear you.
Welcome. What?
Okay, any others? We can continue. I'm going to talk to the Zoomies after, and then I'm going to come talk a little, one more?
Locally, both of our newspapers in Franklin are both very conservative. The Making Sense is very right-wing Christian, and now our other paper, the Franklin Press, has been bought out, and I can definitely see the same thing. So I'm not sure what can be done, but there we are.
Thank you very much. I'm not local, but I had a question. I wanted to get your perspective. I know you're aware of the reporters that are being murdered by Israel and in Lebanon. What do you think we could do to put pressure? I mean, they've murdered so many reporters. It's just tragic, but what do we do? What can we do about that?
I actually don't feel comfortable. I think it's more complicated than that. We can have an individual conversation, but I think it's happening more than there. And we just have to shine the light on it, to shine the light and say that it's a violation of it's a violation of the United Nations Human Rights Declaration, and that we need to keep people all over the world in compliance with that. Yeah.
Well, I know that we are giving lots of our tax money to Israel, and I know Bernie Sanders has been talking about certainly restricting our military donations to purely defensive weapons, but
yeah. I would. So my answer is that wherever it happens in the world, that we point out violations of human rights and do it constantly and with a lot of gravitas. So that's what I would say.
Reverend Marty, thank you so much for being such an inspiration and receiving our invitation for this topic. Thank you so much. As we prepare for our time of connecting, including announcements, introductions, and joys and concerns, please know that they will be edited out before being posted on YouTube.
The closing words are from political theorist Hannah Arendt, who is well known to us for her work on the banality of evil. She wrote, "The moment we no longer have a free press, anything can happen. What makes it possible for a totalitarian or any other dictatorship to rule is that people are not informed. If everyone always lies to you, the consequence is not that you believe the lies, but rather that nobody believes in anything anymore."
Our chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but do not leave its light behind. It goes with us in the questions we're willing to ask, in the truths we are willing to face, and in the voices we are willing to protect. May we go forth as a free people, not only claiming freedom, but safeguarding it for all. Thank you for joining us today. We know you have many options on how to spend your Sunday morning, and we're deeply grateful that you chose to spend it in community with us. Following service, we invite both our Zoomies and Roomies to have conversation. Reverend Marty will stop by the Zoom table, the tech table, and have conversation, and then briefly join us downstairs in Celebration Hall. Visitors, some of our more extroverted members and friends will use the red cups so you can easily find folks who love to chat. Next Sunday, we celebrate Mother's Day and Mother Earth, and hope you'll join us. Please rise in body or spirit. Those in the sanctuary may choose to hold hands.
We are small, but we are mighty.
Indeed, we are. Wonderful. We'll join together in spirit as we recite our closing covenant. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and community is its goal. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. So may it be. Roomies, turn and wave bye to our Zoomies. Bye, Zoomies. Go in peace. The service has ended.